Hello, what is up? What's good, everyone out there? This is the Sports Station for the week of September 8th. I am your host, Mark and Sarah. Joining me, as always, is Mike Eccles in all of his irritating glory. And we have a new addition to the Sports Station, Joe Vasile, joining us, voice of Wilkes College football. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Mark. Pleasure to be here as always.
Oh, thank you.
As always, this one time.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And sorry about taking the week off last week, but we are back here this week with a ton to talk about all over the slate. Obviously, getting into week one of the NFL schedule and bringing up week two. We'll pick all the games for you. We have baseball going on with pennant races and a few teams whose pennant race hopes are failing a little bit. But the first thing we want to get into, guys, is Mike. Mike, welcome in. We have to welcome in Mike first.
I just came into the studio. Dan looks completely different than he looked 2 weeks ago.
I got a haircut.
No. It's not the hair. He had the cosmetic stuff done.
Yeah.
Dan, you definitely had a facelift.
Rhinoplasty.
And plus, I think you added about 65 pounds. My goodness.
I've really let myself go over these last 2 weeks.
Hey, you know what? Everyone, we all celebrate the beginning of the NFL season our own way. Who were we to judge?
I do it by hitting the buffet.
I was going to say, that's a lot of wings over that first weekend.
So, but anyway, guys, the first thing we're going to talk about, and we kind of have to talk about it. It's been the dominant story all around the sports world, and it's even spilled over outside of sports now. Is the Ray Rice situation with Ray Rice and his wife, the initial suspension, which has now been extended indefinitely. He got cut by the Ravens once this new video, at least according to what the NFL is saying, came to light, although a lot of other people seem to be very suspicious of that, the idea that NFL just saw it. So I'm curious to get your guys' thought on this because I have a take that I want to get to, but I want to hear what you guys think first, Joe.
I mean, it's one of those stories that's just absolutely mind-boggling. When you not only realize that the facts were known about this when it occurred back in February, the NFL knew that this had happened, what the full alleged story was, handed out the 2-game suspension at the end of July, which was an absolute outrage at the time. And now only that the videotape has come to light in the public, and a lot of people make a big deal about whether or not the NFL saw the video. To me, it doesn't make a lick of difference whether they saw it or not. I don't care if they saw it or not. It doesn't change the fact of what happened in that elevator. What did they think happened if they didn't see the videotape? And by saying things like what John Harbaugh said at his press conference Monday night, what he said was, well, the videotape changes everything. It changes absolutely nothing. The only thing it changes is now that the Ravens and the NFL have to go on this PR spin to try and look as not bad as possible, when in the end, they botched this situation from day one.
The NFL looks really bad on this one. And although I have to say that because of a situation like this where you take a social issue in America and you apply it to a professional sport, especially for the last 47 years, the number one most popular sport in America, it changes things because, this doesn't look good for the NFL. But I have to say that some of these critics, those who are in the mainstream media, so to speak, or even in some of the gossip columns, whatever, saying that the NFL has a domestic violence problem against women, this is one case.
Yeah.
Usually the NFL, if anything like this happens, and it's rare that it does happen, they take care of it. They get involved.
Yeah.
They make sure to take the appropriate action.
I mean, there were people accusing the NFL a few years ago of being too intolerant, of being too harsh with some of their suspensions, dealing with things like this.
Right, and then here with the Ray Rice, I hadn't seen the video until Monday morning.
Yeah.
When it went viral all over the internet. But I have to tell you, I commend the NFL for its actions that it took immediately, and the Ravens because it was swift. Let me tell you something. Maybe they didn't see it. Nobody else saw it. But that was a very vicious punch that knocked her out cold.
Well,
and they needed to take that action.
I think that the action that they took was the right action, but I don't applaud them for it because that should have been the action that they took in the first place. When you have established the facts that, yes, he did deliver a knockout punch in this elevator. Whether you see the video or not, By only handing out a 2-game suspension and essentially giving him a slap on the wrist, you're heeding no credence to the actual claim of what happened, and now you're just doing the right thing as part of a PR spin to try and downplay the negative publicity of the whole incident.
And to just
Piggyback on Joe's
on
point.
what Joe said. Now the question is, supposedly Ray Rice did tell the NFL, even if they didn't see the video, that he did punch her like that.
Exactly. He never denied doing it
Right.
from the very beginning. The wife never denied what happened. She mind-blowingly came out and apologized for her role, which is a whole nother can of worms altogether.
yeah.
But nobody was denying that that's what happened from the very beginning. So I don't see how the NFL could look at that and go, oh, this changes everything. Now we need to take swift punishment against this.
I mean, I think that the fact that Roger Goodell, after the 2-game suspension, came out and essentially admitted that he got it wrong pretty much tells you everything you need to know about how the NFL handled this from the start. And now you have people coming out saying that the NFL had received the video beforehand, that they had it back in April before they made their initial ruling. And the NFL is continuing to deny this. It certainly is hard to believe that the NFL couldn't get the NFL, one of the most powerful corporations in the world, especially in the United States, but in the world, you could go as far to say, couldn't get their hands on a video like this.
I can't imagine that the NFL had seen this video in April and only gave him a 2-game suspension. There's no way.
Well, that's
There's
part of
no way. I
that's
can't
part of the thing that
imagine.
doesn't add. That's part of it that doesn't add up. But my thing, and I mean, well, first of all, I hate the fact that I have to preface this, but I decided that I have to preface the fact that obviously what Ray Rice did was deplorable. My only problem with this is my problem with the reaction, with the Twitter outcry, is that this thing, which should have been about Ray Rice and the NFL and the Baltimore Ravens, devolved into a competition between everyone on Twitter to see who could be the most outraged about this, who could use the biggest $5 word, who could say, oh, this was deplorable, it was disgusting, it was outrageous, it was this and that. These people essentially making it about themselves and looking for everyone to pat them on the back. I find that people talking about how upset they were about this rather than the situation itself, I find that disturbing in terms of how the reaction came about to this video.
So now let me ask you two this question, because it seems like it's the big question being raised, and I'll go, Joe, to you first.
Okay.
Does Roger Goodell have to step down?
Absolutely 100% yes. I don't see a way, especially with as more and more information is leaked out over the last few days since the initial videotape has come out. I simply don't see a way that Roger Goodell ends up surviving this, still being the commissioner of the NFL. I can't fathom a way that that's possible.
Mark?
No, I don't think so. This is a situation where Goodell obviously made a mistake, but it's a shame that we live in a society where, in a lot of cases, one mistake, now sometimes it's more egregious than others, but I don't think this should be a situation where Roger Goodell makes one mistake. All right, he's gone. He's done. He screwed up one thing. Get him out of here.
But Mark, what is his job as the commissioner of the NFL?
I know that, Joe. I'm not debating that, but I don't think the fact that he got one
It's to
situation
avoid
wrong.
things like this.
You can't avoid a player hitting his wife. How is
It's-
Roger
it's
Goodell
not-
supposed to
it's-
avoid that?
It's not the player hitting his wife.
It's the situation.
It's the
I know
way
that.
it was mismanaged.
I know. I agree.
Yes.
But I think the
And
fact
the
that
PR nightmare that it has become for the league, and when your job is to make sure that that doesn't happen, and now this happens, there's no way that you escape that and still being in your job. I don't see how the owners can be confident in Roger Goodell right now as their commissioner. I certainly don't see how the players can be confident.
the players-
And quite frankly, as a fan of the NFL, I don't see how any other fan can be confident with Roger Goodell as the commissioner of the NFL, not only because of this, but because of his track record the last few years on several things different than this.
I mean, you have valid points, but I just don't think that this is a situation where the damage is. I feel like this is being. I feel like he made a mistake. He screwed this up, but I don't think this is something that should ruin his. You know, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I was
No, no,
going to
I
say
understand.
it absolutely should ruin him.
I think I understand what you're saying. Mark.
He screwed this up royally, but I don't think that this will result in him resigning.
Do you think that it should, though?
No.
Do you think he should? No.
No.
All right, so whether Goodell resigns or not, does a team take a chance on Ray Rice?
In a year, I think maybe. I think there's a small possibility, but one of the things that hurts him is that he was already on the downside of his career when this happened. He wasn't a 1,500-yard back anymore. So I think that's going to make it a lot easier for teams to say, no, I don't want to deal with the storm, I guess you could say, that's going to come with signing him. So I think there's a chance, but given his performance and given the amount of negative attention the team would get for signing him, no. I don't think he ever plays in the NFL again, regardless of the suspension.
Yeah, I think he never plays in the NFL as well. Tim Tebow is not in the NFL because teams didn't want to sign him because of the media firestorm that it would cause. If it comes out that a team is considering signing Ray Rice after he's reinstated, if he's ever reinstated, at whatever point that is,
yeah,
I can't see a way that doesn't create some sort of backlash, some sort of firestorm. I think every team is going to want to stay far away from Ray Rice and just disassociate themselves with him altogether.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing I'll disagree with you guys is that I do agree that they'll probably stay away from him until a team gets in trouble. They're heading towards the playoffs. We're only a game out of the wild card spot. We lost our running back for the season.
But you're going to sign this however old he'll be, probably over 30 guy who hasn't played
That's
in the
why I
league
agree
for
with
20
Joe.
years.
Michael Vick, people thought he'd never play football. The guy was in jail.
No, but see, Mike, I think you have a fair point, but I don't think Ray Rice, I think the quality of running back that Ray Rice is anymore is going to allow him, especially consider the fact that, like Joe said, he's going to be a year older, is going to put him in a situation where teams are going to want to sign him.
Well, compared to your limp guy who's now out for the season, and compared to, quite honestly, some running backs, even Ray Rice staying out a year is probably going to be a lot better than most running backs in the NFL today.
I don't know. I want to wrap this guys up, but let me finish my point. I think I figured out what I wanted to say on Goodell.
Go right ahead.
I think it
Took
only
him
took
a
me 5
while.
minutes.
All right.
I think that the track record, his poor track record, in my opinion, has been overblown. And while he did screw this situation up royally, I don't think that this one complete screw up should result in his resignation. I think you could compare it in some ways to like Michael Vick. Like Michael Vick made one mistake and was given a second chance in the league. I know there was a suspension, but he was given a second chance. And I think Roger Goodell, just one mistake shouldn't ruin his character or his time as commissioner.
I'm sort of glad that you both brought up Michael Vick because that's been an inevitable comparison between a lot of different people in these two cases. And without opening up a complete bag
can
of
of worms
philosophy between the value of a human life versus the value of an animal life, to compare these two situations, Ray Rice to Michael Vick, apples and oranges, night and day. You really can't. They're completely different situations.
I think the Rice situation and the Vick situation
it's
are
much
very
more
different.
serious what Ray Rice did.
I agree. I think that what Ray Rice did is much worse than what Vick did. But anyway, so our next subject we want to move on to is Week 2. By the time you hear this, I'm sure the Ray Rice thing will be covered ad nauseum. We didn't want to devote too much of our show to that.
I feel like it already is.
Absolutely. So the next thing we want to move on to is the greatest sport in the world, gentlemen. It is back in action.
It's back in action, but the TV ratings are not what they have been in the past.
For curling?
Not for curling, because curling is always up. Come on.
We just had Week 1. We had a bunch of surprises, and we're going to jump right into Week 2 here. We have a full slate of games to pick. Obviously, the bye weeks haven't kicked in yet. And this starts, gentlemen, with a Thursday night barn burner, I think. Pittsburgh visiting Baltimore tomorrow on Thursday night. Gentlemen, what do you think?
Well, this goes back to, we've seen this happen in many sports before, is I think the Ravens are going to be hurting. There's going to be too many people showing up with press passes who are people who normally don't cover the NFL.
I think it's a fair point.
And they're going to be covering that. Is going to be too much pressure on the Ravens. The Steelers have a lot of confidence. Even though they lost that lead that they had against Cleveland, they still pulled it out. Ben looks very confident in himself. He's got a couple of good receivers. I see the Steelers probably 24/7.
When does Big Ben not look confident?
Yeah, I agree with you also for almost the exact same reasons. You hate to trivialize the whole thing as just a distraction, but I think that it is going to serve as a distraction this week. Plus, with the short week, everything, Pittsburgh kind of riding high after they were able to come back. Big Ben did his thing against Cleveland. I like them in this game. Well, probably a little bit closer than what you said, 21-14.
Okay,
I'm going to go against you guys. I still like Baltimore in this game. Baltimore's at home. And the one thing I would compare it to, and I thought about this last night, is y'all remember last year when the Bridge Incognito thing came out in Miami?
Yes.
And that was a huge thing between Incognito and Martin, all the bullying, and both players left the team. A week or two after that, they had right in the middle of that controversy, the Dolphins had a Thursday night game at home against Cincinnati, and they came out and played their tails off and won that football game. I think this is going to be a similar thing for Baltimore, where they're going to get on the field and they look at it as time away. Well, they don't have to deal with the media, don't have to deal with all this controversy, don't have to deal with all the BS that's not about football. That's in their inside and outside of their locker room. I think they're going to come out and play their tails off. And this is a rivalry game, so I think the Ravens are going to play as hard as they can. I think they win this game.
Well, I've been waiting for him a long time to prove himself. He did with the Super Bowl victory. If Joe Flacco pulls this off, he proves something else to me.
Okay. Game number 2 on the slate: Miami, the 1-0 Dolphins visiting the 1-0 Buffalo Bills. Who saw that coming into this game, boys? What do you think?
I saw the Dolphin win. I didn't see the Buffalo win. But as you remember, I told you 2 weeks ago.
Yes, you did.
Okay, I really like this Dolphins team. I'm still, we talked about liking and loving certain players.
Yeah.
I like E.J. Manuel. I don't love him. And I love Tannehill. I really think he is going to step up. He's going to be a quality NFL quarterback. I think the Dolphins have finally given him enough to at least make a wild card run. I see the Dolphins in this game easily.
Yeah, I'm picking the Dolphins as well on the road at Buffalo, because watching the 2 games last week, the one that Buffalo played against, who was it that the Buffalo played?
The
Chicago.
Bears.
The Bears, that's
in
right.
Chicago.
The Bears.
That game was not nearly as confidence-inspiring in Buffalo as much as it was the Bears going, well, maybe not Chicago. I think that the Miami team is more for real this season. Yeah, it's 1 game into the season, but I was a lot more impressed with the way that they played against the New England Patriots than the way that the Buffalo Bills played against Chicago last week. For that reason, I'm going Miami over Buffalo. It's going to be, I'm going to say, about 27-24, another close one.
Well, it was funny because, looking at my Facebook post, and I have a lot of friends from the Midwest, boy, they were not surprised by the, like you were saying, it wasn't so much a confidence builder for Buffalo, because a lot of people in Chicago really don't have a lot of confidence in Jay Cutler. And they were not surprised at Buffalo, even though some people called it a shocker or something like that, or a big upset. I wasn't surprised by it, but I agree with you. I don't think that was as much a confidence builder. Although, let's be honest, it's up in Buffalo this game.
Yep.
And those people have been waiting to cheer for something for a long time.
For sure. I like Miami in this game. I agree with Joe. Sorry about that. But I love the way Miami performed the second half. They completely dominated the Patriots. And I think the Patriots are a better team than the Bears are. So I would take more away from Miami's win than from Buffalo's. And while I know you like E.J. Manuel, Mike, I'm still not convinced. I'm still not a fan. It'll take a few more weeks of him playing like he did against the Bears for me to buy in. I was really impressed with the way they played. I mean, Cameron Wake played one of the best games that he's played in a long time. He was fantastic.
And he's going to get better.
I think Miami wins this game on the road.
Okay, we're all in unison on that.
We have. Oh, I thought you said you liked Buffalo. No.
No. Remember, I said I like
him. You don't love
E.J.
him?
Manuel. I love Ryan Tannehill.
Okay. All right. Game number 3. The game. This could be another early version of the toilet bowl, gentlemen. Jacksonville, who blew a 17-0 lead against Philadelphia and looked terrible in the second half against Washington, who just looked terrible in general on Sunday. This game is in Washington, Joe.
I think it's going to be a Jacksonville victory in this one, and the reasoning is just because of the way that Jacksonville played in that first half against Philadelphia, going into the halftime with the 17-0 lead. That showed me a little bit of something about that team. Of course, they didn't have the great finish. Chip Kelly, though, fantastic coach, made some great adjustments at halftime that allowed them to just blow the door open. But the Washington Redskins offense is not the Philadelphia Eagles offense. They're not even on the same level as the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's almost unfair to talk
offense.
about them in the same sentence.
Exactly, and I like Jacksonville to come out on top in this one.
I want to go with Jacksonville, but I can't. Only because they looked so bad in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't build that kind of momentum. And then, hey, a lot of us, and Mark, you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, is I don't think Philadelphia is that good a team. But you know what? It seems like the rest of the division isn't good either. And maybe Foles is a better quarterback than we thought. He showed it in the second half. He picked up that team and said, we're going to do this. The Eagles' defense shut them down completely. I don't think Jacksonville has any confidence right now. RG3, he's going to do something. But remember, I predicted this 2 weeks ago. Sometime this season, we're going to see Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Not this week, though. I think it's a squeaker. I think it's 13-10 Redskins.
Well, I think we're going to see Blake Bortles before we see Kirk Cousins. And I'll tell you guys why Washington's going to win this game. Jacksonville was up 17-0, yes, but they got those 2 touchdowns off of 2 turnovers by Nick Foles in situations so they put them in spots where they didn't have to drive the length of the field for those scores, and they came out in the second half. And you're right, Mike. They could not have looked worse. They couldn't move the ball. Two of the touchdowns that the Eagles got were situations where the Jacksonville defense just broke down. That run by Sproles, the deep ball to Macklin, were both situations where Jacksonville's defense just got caught with their pants down, and Philadelphia took advantage of it. And Washington looks terrible as well. Neither one of these teams looked good at all. But I still like this team. I still like RG3. I like the weapons that they have. I don't think Jackson will be able to defend with Jackson and Garcon and the young tight end Jordan Reed and Alfred Morris. I don't think they're going to be able to stop them. And this isn't the Houston Texans defensive line that the Washington's going up against this week. And they looked good occasionally in spots. I think they looked better overall than Jacksonville did late in that game. And especially you consider the fact that they're at home. I think Washington wins this game.
Sounds good to me.
All right. This one will hit close to home for you, Mike. The Arizona Cardinals flying cross-country to play the New York Giants early at 1 a.m. These West Coast starts always hurt those.
Did he just
West
say
Coast.
1 a.m.?
That's very
Did
early.
he say 1 a.m.?
That is a very early game.
At 1 p.m.,
Wow.
excuse me. Those early start times always hurt those West Coast teams, Mike. What do you think?
I feel bad for the fans actually because I've been out there in the West Coast before during a game, and to think that at 10 a.m. you're barely finishing your breakfast and an NFL game starts, and then by 4:30 the NFL's done. It's like, wait, it's only 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one for the Giants because when we spoke 2 weeks ago, who did I say for the NFC was going to the Super Bowl? I said the Arizona Cardinals. And there's nothing that they did last week that would make me change my mind.
Yeah.
But they're my Giants. I still think, though, it's Arizona. I hate to do it. My family's not going to love me, especially. Well, you're my Dallas family.
That's right. Don't remind
But
me.
my Giants family is going to. They're going to be tough on me about this, but I got to go with Arizona.
I'm going to pick Big Blue in this one. I know that things did not look very good in that Monday night loss against Detroit, but I think that their gasp might have actually been a couple of positives that you might build off. If you think, okay, another week in the new system, you played a full game, you've got some reps under your belt, fine. Maybe you're starting to learn and pick up on a couple of things as far as that goes offensively. And I wrote this today. I think that the offensive line has nowhere to go but up from here.
Yeah.
Not that they
What,
were.
did Will Beatty step off the team?
I think they just replaced him
Did
with
John
with a
Jerry
dummy.
leave the team? Because I thought
I
both
don't
of them
believe so.
my thing is
horrific.
I was
Will
gonna say,
Beatty,
yeah,
Will Beatty is awful. But
I was gonna say,
think
yeah.
that with the three new offensive linemen right there up the middle, another week just to help gain that cohesion, things might, not will, but might get a little bit better, especially not having to go up against as good of a defensive line as Detroit has with Nick Fairley, Ndamukong Suh, and all the first-round picks.
It is good, but
that are going
guys
up
like
there.
Richburg and Walton, I thought were very. I thought John Jerry was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, the thing that's scaring me, guys, is I just don't think Pugh is as good as we'd like him to be.
No, I agree. I thought Pugh and Walton both looked terrible on Monday night. Now, both of these teams they'll play Monday night. I'm going to take the Giants in this one because you think about Arizona playing Monday night, short week, flying cross country for what is essentially a 10 a.m. game in their minds because they're coming from the West Coast.
It's not 1 a.m.?
No, not 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
They changed it, I think. But you consider the fact that, and I think this Giants defense is better than they showed on Monday night. I just love their run defense. Their run defense played great the other night. If they could have just sacked Matt Stafford once or twice, I think they would have been in that game at the end. And the last touchdown drive that Detroit had, I think, was a situation where the Giants' defense was tired. I think their defense performs better. Yes, their offensive line is a problem, but consider how big no Darnell Dockett is going to be for the Cardinals in this game. They're one of their best defensive players, one of their longest tenured defensive players. I think the Giants can pull this out. They looked good in spots, and you throw in all the other factors with Arizona. I think the Giants are going to be able to squeak out a win, like 21-20.
Did I miss something? Is Patrick Peterson not playing?
What's that?
Is Patrick Peterson not playing?
Well, if you can
That's
run
right.
the ball
Victor
effectively,
Cruz
you don't.
is going to be a non-factor anyway.
If you can, if you can run the ball effectively, you don't have to worry about Patrick Peterson.
we'll see.
Unless they're putting him on Larry Donnell, I don't think Patrick Peterson's going to play much of a factor in this one.
The New England Patriots, the 0-1 New England Patriots, playing in Minnesota against the 1-0 Minnesota Vikings. You would have thought the record would have been switched coming into this game, boys. What do you think, Joe?
I like the New England Patriots coming out on top in this one. After that loss week one, Bill Belichick has been on these guys all week long. They're going to come out hungry. They're going to come out angry, and I see them dominating this one from start to finish. I don't see it being particularly close.
Okay.
I'd like to meet the person in this country who's actually going to pick the Vikings, who's not a Vikings fan in Minneapolis. this is we talked about the improvement of the Dolphins team. We saw that in the preseason. We saw that in week 1. So I don't fault the Patriots for losing game 1. I think they just went up against a team that was ready for them, who have been waiting for years. The Minnesota Vikings will not have a chance against the Patriots this week.
Nice to meet you. I'm picking the Vikings in this game.
Oh, get out of here!
New England going on the road. I was aching to pick someone to take over this division, this AFC East from the Patriots, but I didn't think anyone was strong enough. The Dolphins might be. I think this Patriots team regresses this season. The Vikings looked so good. Say what you will about it. It was against the Rams. Rams backup quarterback played the second half. Adrian Peterson and Cordero Patterson. I like the Vikings defense in this game. And Matt Castle, who I've killed for years, looked really good. The Vikings are going to win this game. I like the home dog.
Hey, hold on. And this is, Joe, I hate to do this to you.
Okay.
But 2 weeks ago, this young man over here told me that he thought that a real impact player this year was going to be the Rams quarterback.
That's
Yes,
not true.
you did.
You're misrepresenting what I said.
Ladies
You're
and gentlemen,
misrepresenting what I said.
go to the sports station of August 27th of 2014 and listen to what Mark said.
You want them to see that you're wrong?
No,
that seems like an odd strategy.
you-
No, I said that I thought he was competent enough to lead that team to 7 wins, and he got hurt in the second half of this game. So this isn't a full representation of how they can play. They played a horrible game.
Joe,
Yes.
did you watch any of the game? Maybe a little on
Yes.
NFL Red Zone. In the beginning of the third quarter, did the Rams quarterback look like he was hurt?
Not
stop
really.
it, Mike.
Come on, what was
Stop
the
it.
initial What was the initial reporting? Is that it was coach's decision.
Yeah.
Several sources told the Fox reporter, sideline reporter, that it was.
Oh, there goes the microphone.
That it was.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Mark. It was based on it was a coach's decision, and then all of a sudden somebody said, "Oh, I got a calf" or something like that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that the Rams may not win 3 games all year.
We're spending too much time
Okay.
on the Rams.
No, we're spending time on the Rams because number one, you thought their quarterback was going to be great.
Well, we can spend time on the Rams when we get to St. Louis to Tampa Bay.
But the bottom line is, I'm not impressed with Minnesota beating this Rams team, and you are.
Well, when they
I
beat
can't
when
believe
they beat the Patriots, are you going to be impressed? I would think so. New Orleans at Cleveland, game 2. Excuse me, game 2 for both of these teams. Obviously, what do you think, Mike?
Well, Joe, I'm going to go first, and the only reason
right
why I'm going to
ahead.
go first in this one is that my fantasy team is I have Jimmy Graham and I have Drew Brees, and I think if I lose this week in my fantasy league, it's because these guys simply didn't feel like playing.
Yeah,
If this is not 45-10, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, you got to go with New Orleans as well. I always find it very hard to bet against Drew Brees and Sean Payton when they're together. There's perhaps no better head coach quarterback tandem in the league. I very rarely pick against them, and I'm not about to do that here.
yeah. This one, I don't think it'll be as big of a blowout as you think it will be, Mike. But the Saints are going to win this game pretty easy. I think it'll be like 35-23 or something like that. I think that the Browns are able to do something with Brian Hoyer, who I really liked on Sunday. Hoyer played his tail off. Huge comeback for the Browns, even though they didn't win that game. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm excited about that. But yeah,
how
the Saints,
much of it
the
was
Saints are
Hoyer
gonna win
coming
this
back
game.
and bringing that team back, or the Steelers just feeling so comfortable with their lead that they just kind of relaxed?
Well, yeah, but give the guy credit for not going into a show when it was 27-3 and saying, this game's over. Who do we on the slate for next week?"
Well-
something to be said for a 20. If it was that easy, Mike, every team
If
would
Troy
come back.
Polamalu is just going to be standing out there saying, "Oh, I guess I'll go play. We're up 27-3.
Yeah, but Mike-
want to
Mike-
make sure I don't get hurt."
Mike, if it was that easy, every team would be coming back from 27-3. There's a reason it's so rare. So that's the second game we all agreeing on this slate.
I think he's got Hoyer in his fantasy league or
I
something
think
like
so.
that.
Atlanta
Two quarterback league.
Atlanta 1-0 Atlanta against 1-0 Cincinnati in the jungle in Cincinnati.
Are you now going to call your older cousin the guru now?
Why's that?
Who did I say last week was going to have the big breakout season?
I
Cincinnati?
can't remember.
No. Who did I say? Listen,
Tyler,
2 weeks ago,
Tyler Eifert.
I said I've been watching the Hard Knocks this year. I like the way all the Falcons are healthy this year, and I think the Falcons are going to have a much better year than they had last year. Who came out and looked very good with a very strong offensive
Could Matt
attack.
Ryan have looked any better on Sunday?
He's that good.
My fantasy team says no, he could not.
No, he could not have. Okay.
I think that the Falcons win this game. I really like the way they look. They've got all of their offensive weapons healthy, and they look hard to stop in the passing attack.
I agree. it's so often understated the effect that major injuries cause to several teams
yeah.
and the major impact that can have on the season. Now that everybody's back and healthy in Atlanta, they are once again a very dangerous team. They're going to compete for that playoff spot out in the NFC South.
Yes.
Almost said the NFC East for some
That's
reason.
okay.
They could probably win the NFC East.
Hey, I was
That's a whole
calling
nother story.
the NFC North, the NFC Central the other day, so don't feel bad.
Well,
The black and blue division.
I was going to say you're just a few. You're about a dozen years too late on that
Yeah.
one. But yeah, I see Atlanta coming out victorious in this one, and not to take anything away from Cincinnati, they're a very
Yeah.
good team in their own right.
I know, I agree. I like Atlanta in this game. Cincinnati, yes, they won, but they really didn't look great doing it. I mean, they put up 23 points or 22 points, only scored one touchdown in that game, and they were pretty lucky to get out of that situation with a win. So yeah, I think Atlanta looked so good. I think they're going to win this game. I'm not completely sold on any Dalton, even with the $100 million contract. And I like that Cincinnati defense, but I think they have too many weapons. And when you're trying to cover Julio Jones or Roddy White with Terrence Newman, like Cincinnati will be,
Yeah.
I think that's a huge problem.
You and I disagreed this on our last show. I still think Cincinnati is going to win that division, but I think they
you know
lose
what?
this week.
Based on the first game when they beat Baltimore, who was my pick, you were right. Through one game, you're correct.
Well, now Baltimore's got a lot more to deal with than just a loss to Cincinnati.
You're exactly
For
right.
sure.
Detroit at Carolina, second to last 1 o'clock game. 1 o'clock p.m. game.
All right, you guys are on this more than I am. Is Cam Newton starting this game?
He's supposed to. I mean, the fact that he was essentially a game time decision last week makes me think he's going to start this week. And I have him on 2 fantasy teams, so he better start this
All right,
week.
give me
let
both,
this be
Joe.
a conditional pick.
All right, give me. If
We're gonna hedge
Cam
this?
Newton starts, Joe, who do you pick?
Wait, we're hedging this?
Yeah, if Cam Newton starts, I like the Panthers. If Cam Newton does not start, I still like the Panthers. I think
Well,
I think
Cam's-
Derek Anderson came in and did not a fantastic job, but he did a serviceable job.
Yeah, he was
last week
competent.
in Newton's release, and if he can go out and play like that again this week,
Cam's
he's certainly
practicing.
not hurt.
Cam's practicing this week. He's in full pads, so it's pretty likely he's going to play, Mike.
So unless
Okay.
there's some sort of setback over the next few days, it will be Cam Newton, and I do like the Panthers in this game.
Okay.
And not just because I spent some time down there this past week.
Mark, who are you going with?
I'm going to pick Detroit in this game. I think they looked great in week 1, and I don't trust Carolina's running game. I still don't trust their wide receivers. Say what you will about Kelvin Benjamin. I know this game is on the road, but I think this could be the year of the Lions in Detroit in the NFL. Matthew Stafford looked so good on Monday night. I think the Lions go on the road and win this game. I think the Lions are 2-0. I like Detroit.
I'm going to go with the Panthers, and here's the reason why. The Giants couldn't take advantage of this. The Panthers will. And that is the penalty trouble that Detroit will get into. And it's going to be a close game. It's going to be tight in the fourth quarter, and then something's going to happen. There's going to be either a pass interference or there's going to be an unnecessary roughness that's going to get Detroit in trouble, and the Panthers go ahead and win it.
Okay. All right.
A close game,
Yes, for
but
sure.
I think
agree.
Detroit's, their penalty problems are outrageous this year
Oh,
so
yeah.
far.
It was very bad, and even though the Giants weren't able to take advantage of it, they had that one drive where there were the 3 penalties
Yeah.
on that drive, and that was their first touchdown drive and their only touchdown drive until the very end of the fourth quarter in garbage time.
Oh, what was it? What was it? Was it at halftime where the Lions had more penalty yards than the Giants had total
yards?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Mhm. All right, saving the best for last, gentlemen. The last 1 o'clock game. The Cowboys visiting the 1-0 Tennessee Titans. But guys, what do you think?
Titans. Dallas is showing me nothing. They're
Yeah.
not showing me anything to give me especially defensively. They are showing me nothing defensively, or they're showing us exactly what I said to you 2 weeks ago. They've not recovered from losing Ware, and they haven't recovered especially from losing Sean Lee. Their defense is not that good.
Yeah,
at
that's
all.
a fair point. Lee's the quarterback of that defense when he's healthy, right, Joe?
You can't lose that kind of guy.
Absolutely. The Dallas defense is a complete mess, but also I think that Tennessee is going to win this game. You look at the quarterbacks, the way they looked in week 1. Tony Romo came out in week 1, was making terrible decisions, threw
Yeah.
a couple of picks that were his fault. Sometimes the picks aren't the quarterback's fault, sometimes they are. The ones that Romo threw week 1 were his fault. He was trying to force it into tight coverage, double, triple covered receivers, and that certainly was a big factor in that game being the result that it was in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. And Jake Locker, on the other hand, actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
by Jake Locker's standards,
By his
of course,
standards,
which is not the highest standards,
But he did look good,
Still,
yeah.
he looked good, and I think that's a team to contend with.
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this game. I don't agree with all the hubbub. I think the Cowboys' defense looked better on Sunday than I thought it would. And even though they just lost one of their linebackers, they still have that kid Anthony Hitchens from Iowa who looked great in the preseason. I think their linebackers look fine. I think their defense is a little bit better than it was last year, although that's not saying much. But I think they'll play better than they did even on the road in Tennessee. But I think the Titans win this game like 26-24. It's
I
a
am
close one,
shocked.
but Tennessee walks away with this
I
one.
am shocked. He
We
picked
have-
against the Cowboys.
Incredible.
Wow.
We have. Hey, I told you the Giants are going to be better than the Cowboys this year. After that, nothing should surprise you.
That's true.
We have 5 4 o'clock games on the slate. The first one, the one we mentioned was coming up, St. Louis at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay did not live up to expectations in Week 1, especially against the Cam Newton-less
horrible.
Carolina team at home. But now they have an opportunity to get better against the Rams, who look terrible. Joe.
I think Tampa's going to win because the Rams, not only did they look terrible, they are terrible. They don't have a quarterback. They don't really have anything going for them on offense. They don't really have anything going for them on defense. Tampa's going to win this.
And they actually lost the one thing they have going for them on defense, and that's a double threat on the pass rush because now Long
Right, that's right.
is going to be out for the next 10 games.
That's right.
And that's going to really hurt
Yeah,
Quick.
you're right.
Because now Robert
Quinn,
excuse me.
That's all right.
Is now Robert Quinn is going to get double teamed, or that running back can go help the tackle, or the tight end can come down.
Yeah, you're right.
And not worry about Long, who is a very quick man off the end. So, like I said before, I don't see the Rams winning more than 3 games the entire season. You can't lose these when you're that team, you can't lose these players and still survive. And on the same sense, boy, I thought Tampa Bay looked horrible.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 2 teams that I don't see going anywhere this year, but the one team that's not going to be as bad as the other, Tampa Bay comes out a win.
Yeah, Tampa Bay wins this game. I'm still confident that last week was just an abomination. I still think this is an 8 or 9 win team in Tampa Bay. But yeah, you're right. St. Louis, the one thing they had going for them, it looked like coming to the season, especially was their defense.
Yeah.
Now they lose Long, and they gave up 34 points, even though one of them was a pick 6. They gave up 27 points then to the Vikings at home. No one could tackle Cordero Patterson. Yeah, the Tampa Bay wins this game going away. I think 27-3, something like that. Seattle at San Diego, who fell apart on Monday night with that lead in Arizona. Any way Seattle loses this game?
No.
Nope.
Joe?
Seattle's the best team in the NFL. They win this game.
Hands down, pretty much, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
is there
I don't know if
anybody
it's- I don't know if it's particularly close.
Yeah, is there any other team that actually compares to Seattle right now?
You know, I would have
Maybe
said
Denver, but the way that they dismantled them in the Super Bowl, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would have said the Saints, but after last week, you can't say that after they lost to the Falcons. I still think that the 49ers can put a formidable challenge to the Seahawks, and I think they will.
Real quick, before we go on to the other
Yeah.
games, you just mentioned about the Saints' collapse against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Is Rex Ryan's little brother, is he losing it now as a defensive coordinator?
Yes, I think so.
I think Rob Ryan has been the most overrated defensive coordinator in football for the last however many years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
He's only had a handful of top 20 defenses in the
Defenses, yeah.
league, and I think it's more the family name that's carried him along as far as his coaching career and giving him a better reputation than perhaps he necessarily deserves.
Speaking of the Ryans, Rex Ryan and taking his Jets to go visit the 0-1 and probably angry Green Bay Packers in Week 2 and Lambeau Field, boys.
I like the way the Jets looked against Oakland. I don't see them stopping Aaron Rodgers.
You might be the only person that liked the way that the Jets
Yeah, I was
looked
going to
against
say,
Oakland.
what was there to like?
Because they at least came out with a win, is what
Okay.
it is. They
Okay.
found a way to win. That's
Yes.
what I like.
Okay.
And as Mark will tell you, we talked about this too. I love the Jets' defensive line.
Yep.
But I don't see them stopping the Packers this week.
No, I like the Packers in this game as well. I think that the Packers receivers, Aaron Rodgers is going to beat the Jets secondary, which is the weak part of that defense. They've got, Morris Claiborne, D. Milner. I'm mixing up my
That's all
teams
right.
here.
You're
I'm mixing up
first-round
my young disappointing cornerbacks a little bit. Although Milner has played all right,
Yeah.
but he's still, he's not Darrell Revis.
Yeah.
Not that
Not that
anybody
anyone
could
should expect him to be at this
but I think
stage
Green
in his
Bay's going
career.
to come out and win this one. Their defense is not great, but the Jets' offense really isn't anything special.
Yeah, I agree. And the Jets might not even have Milner for this game. And
That's
with
right.
Rodgers and that receiving core, they would take a toll on the secondary. Yeah, Packers win this game. Jets going on the road. This would be an incredible win for them if they manage to squeak it out. But I don't think they do it. Yeah, Green Bay wins this game.
That's a big shocker if the Jets win that game.
That would be that'd be the shocker of the earliest part of the season. Houston at Oakland.
Oh, easily Houston. I think Houston is now a more confident team. I don't see Oakland as a very confident team at all.
Joe?
I hate to have to pick a winner in this one because,
Yeah.
quite frankly, both of these,
You
neither of
hate
these
this
two
one
guys.
after we went over Jacksonville and
Yeah.
Washington? You hate this one? At least
Yeah.
one of these teams is 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, neither of these two teams really deserve to win this game. But Houston, I guess, just based off of, they've still got Andre Johnson. They've still got some pieces on defense. I like them a little bit better than Oakland, which is just a mess.
I want to take Oakland in this game because I really liked the way Derek Carr played against the Jets. He looked like he was a confident and competent rookie quarterback, and no Jadeveon Clowney for the next 4 to 6 weeks for the Texans. But the Texans looked good on Sunday, and the Raiders, for the most part, really didn't. I thought they could have scored more than 14 points, and obviously they didn't put up any more than that. So, yeah, I think the Texans, even on the road, even in Oakland, Texans win this game.
Yeah, I like the confidence in the Texans' defense. Brian Cushing is back, but more so is with Clowney going down. This linebacker, number 58, really stepped up and had a huge game. I don't remember his name offhand, guys.
It's not Whitney Merciless, is it?
Who was number 58 for the Texans?
Brooks Reed?
Reed had
That's
an
it.
excellent game, especially in the second half. Really helped shut down the Redskin offense. I like the Texans. Really, I'm talking 27-3.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Oakland's not showing me anything.
Kansas, last 4 o'clock game, boys. Kansas City visiting the Denver Broncos. Kansas City looked terrible against a Denver team that almost blew a big lead on Sunday night.
Yeah, Chiefs. The Chiefs might have peaked
I agree.
last year, and you know what? I love their head coach, but I think that Alex Smith is not worth that kind of money. He really is not, and I think the Chiefs are in really big trouble for a long time.
No, I agree. I think Jamal Charles is going to rush for a lot more than 19 yards like he did this past Sunday.
better.
But I mean, going into Denver, both of these teams I think are regressing. So but Denver is clearly the more talented team, and in Denver, really tough to win games against this team with that crowd. Denver takes this one. Joe?
Yeah, I agree with Mike that the Chiefs they peaked last year.
Yeah,
I think
I agree with
last
Mike on
year
that as
was,
well.
was their year. They didn't get it done, and they're not as good of a team this year as they were last year. I see Denver cruising in this one.
Yeah, big thing is Eric Fisher, the former first overall pick from last season, who had a rough first year, is whether or not he can come through this season and become the tackle they thought he was. And if that team is any illustration of the way he's playing, they're going to have a big disappointment on their hands in a couple of years. Sunday night, Chicago, the extraordinarily disappointing and suicide pool killing Chicago Bears, visiting the San Francisco 49ers at 8:30 on NBC.
Painful for the Bears.
Painful for anyone who's a fan of the Bears, like my friend Josh.
Yeah.
Had to suck.
Yeah, 49ers big in this game.
Yeah, when you've got a quarterback that turns the ball over as much as Jay Cutler does and a defense that forces as many turnovers like the 49ers defense does, it's not going to be a pretty result. 49ers win this one.
I mean, this is a real bad sign for Chicago. Coming into the season, people were talking about how Jay Cutler it was different, he had changed, all this essentially hooey about how much better Jay Cutler was going to be. Then, I don't know if you guys saw his press conference with the media, very short, very curt, 1 or 2 word answers. He said at one point, he said to the reporters, "You guys are going to be as negative as possible, but we all understand that." Like, just did not sound like a quarterback who is completely focused on winning football games. I'm not sure this year goes as well as I thought it was going to go for Chicago. And based off week 1, they don't look like they're going to be anywhere near the playoffs. San Francisco takes this one going away.
And I'm going to predict it's going to be like Giant Stadium, or actually Yankee Stadium and Shea Stadium in the 70s. They're going to come out for the first series, and after 3 and out, the rousing sound of boos will fill the stadium.
Well, those are tough
when
fans
Craig
in
Morton was the
Chicago.
Giants quarterback in the 70s, he'd come out for the first series. There'd still be 12 minutes left in the first quarter, and the boos would just be so loud. It's going to be like that in Chicago. If Jay Cutler comes out, a 3 and out, the Bear fans are going to be all over him. It's going to be like that this whole season.
No, I agree. Yeah, San Francisco takes this one. We all agree on that one. San Francisco.
Plus their first game in the new stadium.
In Levi's Stadium, their first game in that new palace that they built. Monday night, this is going to be one of the best Monday night games of the years, gentlemen. The Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. This is going to be a fun football game. I'm not sure how well either one of these teams plays defense, but they can sure score points.
Joe, I'm going to go to you first.
I'm a little bit biased in my pick because I hate the
We all
Philadelphia
are,
Eagles.
because we all do.
So the Indianapolis Colts will come out victorious in this one.
I can't make a decision. I'm going to pick them. I really am. The way I'm looking at this game, and I agree, Mark, it might be one of, if not the best Monday night game of the year. I can't right now. I couldn't pick them, especially because Nick Foles showed me a lot, and especially the Eagles' defense showed me a lot in the second half of that game. So this is a pick 'em for me.
Indy wins this game. I love Andrew Luck, and Nick Foles did not play well on Sunday. And plus, this is on the road for Philadelphia. I always factored that in. I really like this Indianapolis Colts team. I don't think their defense is great, but I don't like Philly's defense either. And I think that Andrew Luck and his weapons are going to be able to put up some points on this Eagles team. They're a really tough team. You remember they beat Seattle and Denver at home last year. This is a tough team to beat at Lucas Oil Stadium. I think that they win this game like 38-31. This is a close, high-scoring football game. But Andrew Luck in the clutch, I wouldn't bet against him in any way, shape, or form. I think Colts win this game. And that is the final game on the Sunday slate. We were meant to get to some baseball today. Unfortunately, we're running a little long. We're going to jump right into our everyone's favorites part of the show.
Ta-da.
Mike Eccles' wild card
Yay.
segment, Mike.
All right,
what do you have
guys.
to throw at me and Joe?
All right,
I'm going to throw this at you. You don't know what's coming, so let's see how you come up with this.
Okay.
That one sports moment that whenever you see it, especially on film, whether it's on ESPN Classic or you watch it on YouTube, that sports moment that still could bring a tear to your eye.
A tear to my eye.
Now, here's the reason why I came up with that. Unfortunately, yesterday, we heard the news where we unfortunately lost hockey legend Bob Suter at the age of 57. Bob Suter, of course, is the first loss that we've had from the 1980 gold medal Olympic hockey team. And, of course, for me, I watched every second of every one of those games. It is still a highlight for my sports. I still think it's the greatest sports moment in U.S. history when we win that game. So what I did is I went back to YouTube after I saw that Bob Suter lost. I played the moment Mike Eruzione scored the go-ahead goal, and I got a little misty, guys. So now tell me. Now I have to go to you, Joe, because unfortunately my cousin doesn't think that fast. So I want to. What's that one sports moment? Whenever you see it, it just, wow, brings a tear to your eye.
It's a tough one because there's a lot to choose from. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be after 9/11 when Mike Piazza hit the home run at Shea Stadium in that first game back against the Atlanta Braves. I still remember being a kid. I had been sent to bed because it was past my bedtime already, and I was listening to the game on the radio, and I hear Bob Murphy, the late great Mets announcer, come up and say Piazza's coming up, and I'm like, and I just thought to myself, I bet you he's going to hit a home run here. And then, of course, the home run, just the emotion of that moment is just stunning, and then seeing it back on replays for years and years now later, it's just a very powerful moment with that. And so if I were to pick, I would have to say that's one right there.
That's a good one. That's a real good one. All right, Mark.
For me, I'm not really a crier, so I had a hard time with this one. For me, it'd probably be when Jerry Jones hired Barry Switzer to coach the Cowboys.
Oh, come on.
But that's not a
That
highlight.
wasn't.
That's
Come
not a highlight.
on.
It does bring a tear to my eye, though. That's for sure. That always gets me choked up.
Come on, come up with a moment.
So again, I'm not really a crier. I don't really
When
have one
David
that brings a
Tyree
tear
pinned
to
it
my
to his
eye.
helmet, or
I don't know who that is.
he
Oh,
was this guy. He was this guy
He's a
from Montclair.
cowboy.
Yeah. I mean, the closest thing could come probably be Aaron Boone's home run in Game 7 against the Red Sox.
Now, there you go. Now, that's
In
a much
03.
better moment.
That's something.
When Jerry Jones hired Barry Switzer.
That always sends a chill down my spine. So that's probably the closest I could come to that. Hopefully that satisfies what you're looking for, Mike. It probably doesn't, but that's what we have next week for. So thank you for tuning in on the sports station. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, subscribe, check on YouTube, comment as well. Please share any comments you have with us. And thank you for tuning in. This week we'll be back next week. Joe Vasile, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem. I was going to say, if you want to comment, hey, we want Dan back, my feelings will not be hurt.
What's that? I don't know who that is.
He's that other guy. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard he's been hitting the buffet.
Really? Okay.
It's just a rumor.
Okay. Thank you again for tuning in. I am Mark and Sarah for Joe Vasile and Mike Eccles. We hope to see you back on the Sports Station next time.